Oh, Naruto. Oh. Oh, hello, I'm sorry. I didn't see you guys come in. Let me put this away. Enough with the cheese. Okay, so I want to start doing some videos. I don't know if they're like book review stuff, all that garbage. But at the end of the year, I want to start doing like a top 10, even though I know that stuff's kind of silly, but it's fun to watch, of like the books that I've read in the year that I thought were awesome, and I wanted to share with you guys. So I plan on doing this every year, right at the end of the new year here, obviously. So just a little couple of the rules that I'm putting on myself here. Basically, it's any book that I've read, whether it be... Don't do it, Zelda. Don't do it. She's going to jump on my stack of books. So whether it's comic books, manga, or art books, even like anatomy books too that I might come across. Next year, hopefully I'm going to be making a push to read more webcomics, so we'll be able to show a little bit of that. And I'll show a little snippet of me flipping through the book as I'm talking briefly about it. And it was really hard to whittle it down to like a top 10 this year. There's a lot of really cool things. There's, I think, maybe 2, maybe 3 American published books, I suppose. Most is manga, and I've been trying very heavily to read more manga. If you guys are following me on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, or if you're watching any of the videos on YouTube, I'm talking about it all the time, trying to just broaden my scope, broaden my horizons and things. Anyway, let's get into it. So the first book, so I guess number 10, it's a big one. Let me just see if I can... I always forget the name of this. It's called The Sky, and it's the art of Final Fantasy. It's actually got 3 books inside, and it goes all the way from Final Fantasy 1 all the way to Final Fantasy 10. Let me just go here and show you. And I'll probably just do like a little screen over here and me flipping through it. But I got this, like this is heavy, guys. This is actually very heavy. It's probably, I don't lift weights and stuff, but maybe close to 20 pounds? Maybe 15. I'm a Susie, so I can never really get my my weights right. But anyway, the book is awesome. If you love Final Fantasy, Yoshi, obviously his name wrong too, and I'm going to butcher all these Japanese cats and Chinese cats' names. But Yoshitaka Amano, I remember falling in love with his art right with Final Fantasy VI. That was my first Final Fantasy game that I ever played, and actually it was the first role-playing game that I ever played, and it actually took me to a place. I know a lot of people talking about stuff like that, but I remember pretty heavily waiting to play my Super Nintendo just so that I could play more of that game. And it's a real treat now that we're older and the internet's... back then there was no internet when Final Fantasy VI came out. But the internet has made the world much smaller, so you're able to find these artists and like appreciate their work. And anyway, like I say, this was on sale. I think the regular price is up there. It's pretty expensive. But it is definitely one of those books that I enjoy flipping through, and it just kind of takes me back and brings me into a different mindset of art. And really great book. I wanted to put it on the top 10 again because of the amount of content that's in there. And I know it's probably very specific, but I enjoyed the hell out of it when I did read it. And I do flip through it maybe once every 6 months. I know I've gone through it I think twice because there's quite a bit of books in there. And it's just one of those, it's definitely, if you're one of those types of people that does this, if you have people over a lot, a coffee table book, big time. Especially if you've got art friends that come by or video game buddies. Just having it there and just flipping through, it's very cool. It's very, very awesome stuff. Anyway, number 9. This I should say too, even if I have owned these books years previous, I do reread comic books. I hope you guys do as well. And you, flip through art books and all that sort of stuff. This book I had purchased when, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I've talked about it before. And I reread it this year. And this is one of those books that I love going back to just because of its purity. And I have yet to ever read a comic book like this. 1 second. Come here, Zelda. You want to go for the camera? She's coming by. She's getting camera shy. So here's Zelda. You guys hear me talk about her all the time. Say hello. Meow meow. There you go. Okay. You can watch over here. I got all the books stacked on the chair that she likes to sleep at while I drop. Anyway, this is Corey Lewis's Sharknife. And I talk about this all the time. It's, how do I describe it? It has a lot of video game undertones. It feels that like a lot of times, you ever play Street Fighter or something, and the characters all have like named moves. Anime does this a lot too, where if it's an attack, they'll call it like Firebomb Fist Attack, stuff like that. This book does that. It does a lot of that. And I've always loved Corey Lewis's style. When I was a wee lad in high school, I think maybe grade 9, was it grade 9? When I started high school, around there, or grade 10 around there, I started like dipping my fingers into the internet. And there was this one art forum, I'm not even sure if it's still there, you can check, it's called Eat Poo. I know it sounds ridiculous, but back then it was all art forums. And there were a few select cats that were always at the top. And Corey Lewis was one of those guys that was Ray, you might know him as, that was up there all the time. And I'd look at his stuff and it was just jaw-dropping stuff. And this was coming from a time when I was just looking at people's style like this, or anime, especially anime, and trying to just draw that without doing proper figure work and studies and stuff, where now I'm much different. I can look at this and I can see things I didn't see back then, but this is a treat for me, to be honest with you. There is the second book as well, but I just wanted to put the first one on there. If any of the art that I was flipping through like whetted your appetite at all, buy this. I'm pretty sure you can still get it on Amazon, but buy this. This was actually a wonderful, wonderful book. Okay, so next up, here we go. Now we're kind of getting into published American style comics. Greg Capullo on Batman, and I got the trade here. Now, when this first came out, Greg Capullo is one of my favorite artists. The way he does storytelling, panel placement, all that stuff, top notch. There's very few people that can do what he does. But this was during the time, I believe, when SOPA, maybe that was 2013. And SOPA was something that was trying to basically, what's the word I'm looking for? Censor the internet. And DC Comics, through Warner Brothers, was supporting this. And I was trying to do the best that I could with other people, where all we feel like we can do is vote with our dollar. So I wasn't going to support them for doing so. So I missed out on a good chunk of this. But I was there for the New 52 for the first few books. But only this year did I get back into it, picking it back up through the recommendation of my buddy Will Robson, which you guys all know, Robson Inc. Check him out on YouTube. But reading through this, and it's weird because rereading it, I've already read the first few issues before all that happened, and it was really cool to go back and see all this stuff and see where it went. I haven't been following the comic lately because it's gone into this. You guys might know if you're following it, year 1 sort of thing. I believe it's done now. I'm not sure. I have to double check just to see that stuff. But the art style got a little different. Got a little neon. Got a little. I didn't really care for it. I like Capullo from where I know him, Spawn, and his art on this is fantastic. I highly recommend. If you were to get anything and just walk away, get this trade. I would actually get the second one as well. It's kind of like the 12-issue arc. Wonderful storytelling. It's actually detective storytelling that's done. I was waiting. This was one of the few books that I remember waiting. I couldn't wait till the next month to get the next issue just to see how the plot and what was the detective twist that was surrounded, to see how that played out. Fantastic. Now this one here, this is actually tied. This is actually what? So let me see. 10, 9, 8. So Batman was number 8. Number 7. This is my favorite series of comic books under a book that's going to come later. And this, since I started reading this has been always on my radar. The art stuff, like, absolutely wonderful. I really wish more people read this comic book because it deserves a lot more attention than it gets, even though it's up there. And that is Invincible. Now this one here is number 8. These are like the collector edition hardcover big stuff, right? Like a lot of concept art and stuff in here, and they've got the actual, I guess these are called like magazine size pages. So let me just put this next to it so you can see like a trade paperback right here, and this is the size, like, so you're getting bigger artwork, and the price, at least in Canada here, it was actually very cheapish for a hardcover. But I've collected all the way up to number 8. I'm waiting for number 9. I've recently put this comic book in my pull file at my local comic book store, but I don't know what else there's to say. If you guys aren't reading this, please do it. They always have this little like thing that they put at the top, like the world's greatest comic book or superhero comic book, and I actually agree with it. The beginning might be a little slow, but it's fun. There's a cool twist to it, and then it starts to become a little bit like Dragon Ball Z with superheroes. If that sounds interesting to you, pick this up. I'm telling you, the first 6 volumes of these worth every single cent that you'll spend. storytelling, the story, the artwork, great stuff. So anyway, I just want to move on. I don't want to linger too much on there, but I can't recommend that enough. And I'm losing my spots here. So 10, 9, 8, 7. So, okay, so number 6. This is, now we're getting back into the manga. I've always heard of this, mostly through anime, and I'm not a big anime watcher. That's something I'm trying to do, but it's, I know it sounds weird, but it's hard to watch anime. Like, to find the time to watch it. What? I know that sounds really weird. And I'm not quite sure, I haven't done the proper research on this, if this series was an anime that just got turned into a manga, or if it's the other way around. The more that I look into manga, the more I'm finding that it's, some of it, even some of the cool stuff, started off as like a cartoon, or an anime, or a movie, and then they turned it into a comic. And, you know, I'm trying to be the comic purist in a way, trying to see these things in a comic book fashion. But, in saying that, Attack on Titan isn't on my list because I really don't like the artwork in that at all. But the show is radically different. And when you get two parallels like that, it's hard to not want to watch it. Like, the animation stuff is so good in the show. Anyway, that's Neon Genesis Evangelion. I know this has been around forever. But I started reading it this year. This is the second one. What I really appreciate that they're doing now with these mangas that have been out for so long is like these collected editions. There's always like 3 volumes in here. You saw me reading the Naruto one actually right here. I didn't put this on the list yet because it's not done. I'm almost done this one, but it'll most likely will be on 2015's list. Great book. Absolutely awesome. It starts off with that school. I really don't like a lot of the stories in manga that start with like school kids. I just don't. I'm not there. If I was younger reading this, maybe it'd appeal to me. But I just get me into it. Get me. It doesn't have to be action. Just get me into the story. I don't need to know about the dramas of school. But the kids are younger and stuff. But the action and the artwork. If you like mech designs and stuff, I don't know. Like, this has been around forever, and there's a reason why it's highly praised and talked about. I can't talk enough good things about this. Fantastic. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so number 5. This series, oh baby. Started off amazing. Absolutely amazing to me. And then it slowed down. And I hate when they do this. And the reason for that, I'll just show you. Berserk. If I had to say one of the best manga that I've ever read, and I'm just getting my feet wet into this stuff, this is, for my style and my taste of what I like, beautiful. Absolutely delicious. I can't get enough of it. But, in saying that, for some reason, now it's starting to show the history of the main character, Guts, right? And he's young, and there's some scenes where actually when he was really young that kind of made me go, like, cringe, like I don't need to see that. But knowing that, it makes you, it's character building and world building, that's all it is. However, I don't know how many more volumes, you guys can let me know in the comments for those of you that have actually read it or watched the shows and stuff, but I just wanted to get back to when he's an adult where it left and get back to the demon killing, blood, guts, cool artwork, man. I've seen stuff online, I haven't read it just yet, where it's like piles of rats that form into like this giant face. Looks like a Buddha face or something. And it's just like, that kind of scale is insane. I love it. Read Berserk. Read Berserk. I'm telling you guys. The artwork that I just flashed on the screen there, if that looks like something that you might be interested in, do a little research. It's gory, it's bloody, it's awesome, it's juicy, it's delicious. We're going to keep calling these delicious. Number 4. Back into an art book. This, I heard talked about from Dave Raposa. If you don't know who he is, check out Dave Raposa's artwork. Phenomenal concept artist. He just started some webcomics himself. Steve Lichman is one of the ones that I remember. That's it's adult humor, but I love its purity to it. The other one is Starvale. That book is, or that webcomic that he's might be turning into whatever. I love Dave Raposa's artwork. Anyway, he's got a whole bunch of YouTube videos, and him and his buddy Dan, I forget his last name. They talk about this book here a lot. Since they're concept artists primarily, they look at a lot of art books, and coming from a concept art point of view, I like to do a lot of comic books, you guys know that. Looking at this stuff in conjunction with comics is awesome for your character designs, world building, stuff like that. Like, let's be honest, the book here anyway is Tactics Ogre, and it's the artworks from that. I think it's the first one or the PlayStation Portable one. And the artwork in this, how do I put that? Let's say you wanted to work for Marvel and DC. I don't know necessarily if this would give you any if there's any benefit to something like this. But if you're doing personal work, or you just want to do art on the side, you know, your own sort of thing, this is beautiful work, man. I'm going to flip it obviously through the screen, but I don't know what to say. A lot of this in here was just the armor design and everything was just, I keep saying pure in this stuff because it's so clean, it's unique, it's all functionable, and it's, I don't know, like I say, if you're doing 100% comic book work, I get where these art books kind of get a little like, well, you know, if I'm going to spend money, I may as well just buy comics. I get that, I understand that. But at the same time, the artist side of me loves looking at this stuff. I'm not a big fan of looking at fine art. I've tried, I probably haven't spent as much time as I should as an artist. But looking at art like this, that gets my brain going like you guys wouldn't believe. My day job, the job that I go to full time, I do concept art, I do production art, I do art for video games. The games we do aren't like this, but seeing how they break down certain things, it helps me in that regard as well. But my personal projects that one day hopefully I keep hacking away, you guys know how I flip-flop between personal projects. This stuff is wonderful. Just like with the Final Fantasy book, just like with, I don't know if I showed you another one, I know there's another one coming up, but it's just so, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's a big treat for me to go through it. It's relaxing, it takes me back to another time, again, going back to video games and stuff, but all that. So, Tactics Ogre Artworks. I can't recommend that book enough. And that's my top 4. So now we're into the top 3 books that I've read this year. This one, literally, I picked up, at the time of this recording, 3 weeks ago. And I have looked at it daily. Because it's new, but because it's so beefy. Look at this. It's like 450 pages. Okay? And that's The Art of Street Fighter. 25 years collection, whatever. You guys, I don't know. Let me just take you back in time for a second here. But when I was a kid, my dad, for some reason, bought us a 3DO. If you guys don't know what video games are, if you do, you know what I'm talking about with a 3DO, hopefully. Very few people even had that book. Let me just, my girly arms can't hold that out. But few people had a 3DO. And my brother and I, we used to just, boom, quarters into Street Fighter. Was it Hyper Street Fighter 2, I believe it was, at the arcade. And we would just play that all day. If we could get quarters, it was going on that machine. Slushies, let's go. Let's play Street Fighter. And my brother and I would love the hell out of that stuff. Eventually we got a 3DO. And the 3DO had this game, it was, I believe that one was Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, if I could be wrong. And it was like an arcade port. It was amazing. My brother and I can't tell you the amount of fighting we got into, the amount of nights we stayed up so late playing that. But it was one of the very few games that I watched where I would literally pause it. It was just me playing. I would pause, get my sketchbook when I was younger, and I would just draw the image. I would draw Ryu or Ken or my guy Zangief. I just love the big brawler guys. And I'd pause it, and I'd do like a punch attack and pause it, and then draw the anatomy of that character. And it wasn't until 15 years later or whatever that I start to find out that who these artists are. Remember what I was talking about earlier when the internet shrinks? You get to find out who these artists are and follow their work. And that was one of the hugest treats that I got flipping through this book. A lot of the artists that I enjoyed, they stayed through all the way from there, all the way to like Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 4 that just came out. This has been a book that I've been just flipping through, and I'll be releasing a new video soon talking about homeschooling and making your own like work schedule, I suppose, with that. And this is something I'm going to be pouring over to try to incorporate more into my style. Not like the Street Fighter style, but Bengus and Akiman, I hope I say his name right. Their style is just so, oh my god, it's beautiful. It's almost perfect in my opinion. And I need to get more of that into my art. And just getting this book made me realize that I have forgotten an art style that, even though I played Street Fighter 4, I didn't have in this form. I didn't have this, where I can go over here on the art table or break open Manga Studio or Photoshop, fold this in front of me, and let's just draw poses, let's just draw faces, let's figure this stuff out and bring the life that's back from this into my art. Like, I just gotta show you guys something. Like, this is old school stuff, but this is, here, let me show you, oh, that's a little racy. Chun-Li, you know people like to draw their Chun-Lis. So if I can zoom in. So there's like this sketchy stuff here. right? And that's really cool to me. Because it's not the tight artwork, but it's the lines that they're using in there that you can bring back to your own stuff. We'll probably do another video on how to like incorporate this sort of thing in a developer and style, but that's in the top 3 for sure. I had to put it in there. I actually get excited and happy when I look at this. When I have this, this is a lame part. Right behind me I have a stack, right here. These are just art books, they're not comics. These, like when Photoshop's loading or if I'm uploading things for clients and things, I'll just take this out and I'll just, you know, just this. I don't need to necessarily go into like that, but having this right here, right like that, I look over it and it actually makes me smile. I don't understand it, but it's got to be going back in time, bringing that stuff back. Anyway, the second greatest book that I read in 2014, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I chose this one here only because it's got a cool cover. This little mini-series here, or this story arc, City Fall, wow. I've been collecting this since issue 1 was released. But there was a time, again, sort of falling in line with the Batman that we talked about earlier. I stopped going to that comic book store for multiple reasons, but I've since collected all the trades. I've gotten all the mini-series, micro-series. The writing in this is phenomenal. Even if you're not a Ninja Turtle fan, I would give the series a chance. If you are a Ninja Turtles fan and you're not reading it, you need to. It ties in all the universes from the very original Ninja Turtles to Ninja Turtles Adventures. That's the big comic book series that I was into when I was a little kid. The cartoon, the movies, ties them all into like a new canon, a new universe for all this to come in. And I'm telling you guys, I have yet, and this is a powerful statement, maybe because I have a lot of like nostalgia to it and I just enjoy it, but I have yet to read a single issue where I was bummed out, I felt like I wasted money, or I was just generally like, eh. That says a lot. And this is the #1 book that I look forward to every month in my comic book profile. I don't have a lot in there, but this is not going anywhere. There's little things, little nuggets that just made me smile. If you haven't read it, little spoiler, I'm going to do a little spoiler, I'm sorry. There's a part where they go back, it's called The History of the Foot. And it shows sort of like Shredder back when. And he finally meets like this magician wizard guy who's been bringing it's like a serum, a mythical serum that nobody knows what they're getting. And somebody goes on a pilgrimage to a location, it's kind of like a religious shrine, a trek, and they go up there and they always bring back magic. They always bring back this magic like potion. Yep. Makes this guy live forever. Anyway, Shredder tracks us down, and the thing that comes through is, if you guys know who Krang is, I'm hoping you do, he's a little like pink brain, his father is the one that's coming through, and his suit that he walks in is the original suit Krang wore in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon that I think everybody knows. If you're a fan and you read that and I saw that, I couldn't even tell you, oh my gosh, there's very few moments when I get an emotional reaction from something, and this book, this is pulling on heartstrings, nostalgia, everything. I can't, you know, because of that, I know I'm in a very, very specific target audience for this book, but it's doing everything for me, and that's why it had to be at least in the top 3. I was going to put it at the #1 spot because of that. However, I found another book, we'll get to that. So, Ninja Turtles, read the hell out of it. So, the #1 book that I read in 2014 might surprise you. Most of you maybe never even heard of it. I'm assuming most of you that are watching my channel or follow my stuff, you probably don't read a lot of manga anyway. That's just an assumption. If you do, you know, I'm just catching up to you guys. So the #1 book I read this year was actually a manga, and it's a series. I think I'm on volume 6 now. I believe it's 8 parts. I posted a tweet out and on Facebook on my fan page and stuff, asking you guys, like, what are your top 3 manga? And I just took a look at what everybody was saying, and I just did a little search myself. And this book came up quite a few times, and I looked at it, and I'll be honest, when I looked at it on Amazon, it was like, okay, you know, there's nothing, it didn't jump at me. Then I started looking at image searches and stuff, and the pages, there's not a lot of action in it. I'm a guy that likes a lot of action. But I bought the first one anyway because I know the people that were recommending it, they have yet to let me down, and they got good taste. Especially Jamie Gamble. Follow you if you're watching, buddy. This is basically, I got this because of you. But anyway, Pluto. Pluto is the #1 book that I've read this year, or series I should say. It's a detective story. It's based off let me just read it here for you so you guys can understand here. A new vision based on Astro Boy. Okay, so I believe it's Tezuka, the guy that wrote. Because I know, okay, here we go. Tezuka, the legendary Osamu Tezuka, is arguably the most influential person to shape the landscape of the narrative art form known as manga. In 1964, Tezuka created a revolutionary story arc in his Astro Boy series called The Greatest Robot on Earth. Tezuka's engaging tale struck a chord with the children of the time and became the most popular storyline of the entire series. It would also prove to profoundly influence and inspire a generation of manga artists to come. So, I need to get more into that guy. I definitely want to start picking up some Astro Boy. I never really, you know, that wasn't my thing when I was a kid. That was, I think, a generation before me. But just to have at least an Astro Boy, or maybe actually just that, the Greatest Robot on Earth series, maybe I can compare. Anyway, this is a retelling of that in a more serious tone. I can't say enough good things about this book. Obviously, if it's my #1. The storytelling is, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I've actually looked at this and seen it, and like the artwork and everything, and it makes me want to put more emotion into my characters. And if I could say that about anything, that's a good thing. If you can look at your art, or look at something else and go, I need to bring that, X or Y into my art because of this, that's the good stuff. And you need to pay attention to that. You need to, your body and your brain and your art sense, whatever you want to call it, your soul, it's telling you things. You need to listen to it. And if it's telling you something like, that shadow looks amazing, you need to wonder why, and you need to pursue the hell out of it. Make a note and don't forget it. That's why this has touched me on such an art level. The story is I can't wait to keep it going. And I know, that's the one thing about manga that's a little difficult. The series can be, I don't know, Naruto for example, I think it's just ending, it's like, what is it, 60 something volumes? It's insane. Berserk, I know I'm in that for a long haul, just like all of you that have been waiting forever for books in between, but I know this, I believe it's just 8. I believe it's just 8 books. That's awesome because I know it has a conclusion and it's been thought out. But I don't want to rush this. I want to, like, it's like a little wine, you want to sip on it. I read one of these maybe a month just so that I can come back to it. It's kind of like an 8-part movie. I can't, I don't know, speak to this enough. Anyway, that's it for this little wrap up. Let me know what your top 10 books were. Leave them in the comments because I'd love to look at them, and like I say, I'm always going to go back to buy more books. So art books, tutorial books, web comics, comic books, manga, all that stuff. Leave your top 10 of 2014 if you have one. Share it with me. If you've got a video, I'd love to see that as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And like I say, every year I'm going to try to wrap this up with this stuff. So even though there's books, like I can probably guarantee you, because 2015 is tomorrow, that I'm going to keep reading Pluto. It's probably going to pop up on the 2015 list. It's whatever I'm reading, if you want to throw it in there. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good New Year.